Hey guys, so don't pay attention to the facial hair or the headphones. This isn't going to be an everyday thing, but because I want to make sure you could hear me, I am using the mic and I sound clear enough. Power Rangers Dino Fury. We've made it to a new season of Power Rangers after going through 2 seasons of Beast Morphers, which was mediocre. They tried to pull some extra stuff the past couple episodes, which as an RPM fan I deeply appreciate. I'm going to be reviewing Destination Dinohenge, which is the first episode of Dino Fury. I thought about grouping this episode as well as the second episode. I'm leaning in this way, talk clearer to the mic, but I feel like this felt very much like an introduction. It didn't feel like it was a two-parter necessarily, but I feel like we won't figure that out until the second episode airs, which it'll be aired by the time I upload this video. As always, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button if you enjoyed this video by the end of it, and click the subscribe button if you want more Power Ranger reviews. Also, be sure to check out the description where there's all my social media channels. Lately, I've been tweeting a lot about Power Rangers and Sentai. Going into this season, I was cautiously optimistic. I feel like I've said that every time a new Ranger team is introduced, but this time I really was cautiously optimistic. Specifically, the executive producer actually really encouraged me to watch Dino Fury. Not that I was going to stop watching Power Rangers, but he encouraged me to continue into this new iteration because of how upfront he was. He was so honest, not only on Twitter, but during the interviews for Dino Fury. He kept reiterating the fact that he acknowledges the older fans. Like, he was very, no nonsense with it. Like, look, this show I'm told to make for 4 to 6 year olds. Explained how many limitations and strict guidelines they had to follow, which makes a lot of sense when you go back to episodes of Ninja Steel. Thoroughly encourage you guys to read the interview if you haven't already. It really sheds light about the behind the scenes workings of the show, especially during the pandemic. This is the first time I ever watched the Sentai version of the series before I watched the American version of the series. I did it because I figured even if this season turns out to be crap, at least I could have fun comparing and contrasting the Sentai footage to the American footage. That being said, I tried my best not to be jaded by all the positive vibes that I was getting with this season. Right at the beginning, this new theme song. The vocalist was a choice. The accent makes the song awkward. I feel like I need to put a disclaimer to that, but I feel like you guys get it. I feel like you get it. I don't think his accent works with the theme. Thank you. I like the electronic put into it. It's about time. I'm glad that they have a new music composer because from Samurai onto Beast Morphers, I didn't like the music that much. I do enjoy the instrumentals used throughout the episode. Just this theme song is very iffy. Somebody asked Simon Bennett on Twitter why the theme song was only 30 seconds. To no surprise to me, he said that it was because the network had specific guidelines, which makes a lot of sense if you watch other shows on Nickelodeon. So, starting with the first scene, you could automatically pick up on the changes that are going on behind the scenes. The main character dialogue, even the cinematography. This is a long shot. Can you imagine any season from the past decade beginning like this? The dialogue in this scene was actually pretty clever and mature. It seemed like 2 adults were actually speaking back and forth to each other. It didn't seem like, oh, hi, hello, how are you? It didn't sound very cartoony, so that was something that I appreciated and I very much picked up from the get-go. I felt like this was a very clear sign that they were going to go with a different style. We're introduced to Amelia, the Pink Ranger, or she's going to end up being the Pink Ranger by the end of the episode, spoiler alert. We're introduced to her boss, and we're introduced to Buzz Blast, which is very obviously a BuzzFeed-inspired locale. Amelia works for this website that is not allowing her to really get into what she's passionate about, which is paranormal activity, not to be confused with the film, but ghosts, yada yada, and she just wants the chance to write an article. Eventually, she encourages her boss to allow her to research this location called the Dinohenge. What I appreciated about the scene in particular is that, you saw a 2010s type technology throughout the past decade of seasons, but I feel like here it's much more fleshed out. I do appreciate a more realistic and timely culture being infused into the story, and even just in subtle things like the background, like someone on a hovercraft, even though that's kind of like 2016-ish, 2017, whatever it was, the girl making slime, and Amelia with the lipstick, etc. This place is going to be utilized obviously a lot more in future episodes. So I'm excited for Buzzblast to hopefully play a huge role in this series, and I'm really excited to see how social media in this world interacts with the daily or weekly monster attacks and the Power Rangers being their heroes in this world. In the next scene, we see Amelia walking into the forest after her boss begrudgingly agrees to letting her write this article as long as it's factual. You get a really good vibe of what the characters' personalities are in this first episode, and this to me is a prime example. You could tell just by the actress's performance that this character is going to end up being confident and someone who definitely believes in her gut. So we see her walking in the forest with this spin snare. She thinks she sees a ghost and she shoots her spin snare and she captures the Blue Ranger. Turns out that this guy is also looking for Dinohenge, where he claims his mother is doing research. We're introduced to Ollie. I really enjoyed his dialogue and his back and forth with Amelia. I enjoy his sarcasm and his dry humor, which I can relate to. The only thing is I hope the actor's acting improves. I feel like Amelia's actress, even later on in this episode, is very strong, and I appreciate that. Ollie, there could be a bit of an improvement. It's the first episode, benefit of the doubt. Looking forward to him improving, hopefully. After they introduce themselves, we enter Dinohenge. Originally, when I saw the leaked photos, I thought it looked kind of awkward. Now that I see in HD, it looks pretty good. We get 6 different statues representing the 6 different dinosaurs that the Rangers, spoiler alert, will get. I appreciate this little seed planted that'll eventually bloom later on in the season. I also appreciate the Gold Ranger's dinosaur being represented here. We're introduced to Dr. Icona, I believe is how you pronounce her last name, which is Ollie's mother. She's impressed that he found Amelia. I feel like this obviously is planting the seeds for a possible relationship between the two. Whether or not the relationship will pan out beyond the friendship, obviously it's too early to tell. God, the dialogue is so much more natural. It's the most natural it's been probably since RPM. It's something I really much appreciate. Adults speak like adults, young adults speak like young adults. I really don't feel like I'm being spoken down to. Dr. Akana eventually uses her drone to do what looks like a scan of the Dinohenge statues, which is then followed by an earthquake sequence. Maybe she awakens something, I don't know. From her scanning it with her drone, she finds out that there is a chamber located underneath where they are, Dinohenge. We're then introduced to this side character, Warden Buzzkill, a little on the nose, but then we quickly find out that his real name is Warden Garcia. He eventually gets Dr. Akana to come with him to file a report for her not having a permit. Amelia tries to explain herself, but again, the warden is not having it. After the mother leaves, we get this short little scene with Amelia helping Ollie pack up, and they have some good back and forth. Amelia explaining her interest in paranormal activity and her belief in ghosts. Ollie very much being the opposite. One of the cool lines that I like from this that didn't seem too forced was,
"Proof is hard to come by. Ghosts just don't line up for selfies."
While they're having this argument and helping pack everything up for the doctor, we're introduced to Void Knight, which is presumably the main baddie this season. A lot of people love this suit design. I do as well. I just don't like the fact that it's purple. I feel like it's a little too inspired by Korag's design. The fact that he's a knight, it's just leading to some sort of an unveiling later on. He's scanning something. Something I do appreciate as well that people pointed out was his voice. I'm happy that it's a refreshing voice. He just sounds like an adult male. He doesn't sound like an exaggerated voice. There's a bit of an echo. Reminds me of the voices that they had in Kamen Rider Dragonite. We don't know what he's looking for, but he made a hole in the ground where the doctor claimed that there was a chamber, and Amelia and Ollie, of course, are following because this is Power Rangers, and when teenagers, or young adults in this case, see something like that happening, they will follow. We are then introduced to our hero's base. It does look a little similar to Dino Charge's base, just purely based off of that like rust orangey color, but other than that, it's fairly unique. It has this very space-looking aesthetic, and then shockingly, we see a bunch of what appears to be the grunts in a circle and not attacking them, as if they've been there for a very long time. So I'll talk more about the henchmen later. We are quickly interrupted by Void Knight showing that, yeah, he's still searching for whatever he's searching for, and then the door opens, presumably accidentally, and we see a ranger inside a tube, and this awesome design. I can't stress this enough. You guys saw on Twitter immediately. When I saw this design, I was intrigued. One of the best designs, possibly in Power Ranger history, but at least the past decade. This design is awesome. The fact that it is a sassy lady the dinosaur hybrid is awesome. The voice actress for this role is the same actress that played Morgana in Power Rangers SPD, which I love that. SPD is one of my favorite seasons, and I like the idea of an actor returning and playing like a completely different role. Void Knight asks her where this energy source is. There's this funny back and forth, like the fact that it's this dark Void Knight, which he finally introduces himself as, and this dinosaur is pretty hilarious. The Red Ranger is in the tube. He is not coming out, and Void Knight continues to attempt to attack her until Ollie pulls one of the chroma sabers and defends her. Amelia shoots her capture device onto Void Knight, who's then captured for a little bit, who she attempts to shock. He quickly escapes though when the dinosaur hands the key to activate the henchman. Henchman. Don't hate it. I think it's funny. But before Amelia could catch it, Void Knight grabs it, activates it, and turns these henchmen against the Rangers. Again, really interesting. I don't think we've gotten grunts who were originally good or used for good at some point who then quickly turn that I can remember in recent Ranger history. So again, appreciate something different being done.
Bad vibes.
Bad vibes. And now, this is where the episode really speeds up. We get this pretty cool civilian fight going on with Amelia and Ollie against the henchmen. These two Rangers have experience with fighting, which I appreciate. It's not that they just magically know martial arts. Again, everything is being explained, which is great, and I deeply appreciate. While this is going on, we still have that dinosaur attempting to awaken this Red Power Ranger. Fingers crossed. This is just a great fight sequence, and then quickly they meet in the middle, their wrists glow, and we get a blue and pink morpher. The dinosaur then throws them keys, which helps them morph into the Dino Fury Blue and Pink Rangers. Throughout this battle, they're using their chroma sabers. I love that we get a fight in the base episode 1. We get this cool electronic song going on while they're fighting. Again, appreciate it because it's different. The past seasons sounded so similar to each other.
Powers, costumes, and weapons? What other stuff do we get?
If you watch the news,
I do.
swords!
Yes, for interconnected storytelling. The only thing that concerns me with this fight, if you watch Rusoja or even Kira Major, they have this impressive cinematography and camera work with the fights. I just hope that they attempt to go with the cinematography that the Sentai had as well. During this fight scene, Void Knight finally finds the energy source that he's looking for, which turns out to be these things called sporks, which are these globby, glowy looking things that actually look pretty good. Could be a mix of CGI and practical. He finally gets it. It's in this chest. The dinosaur notices this and does one last push on that console, and the Red Ranger is finally awakened and immediately knows to fight and defend the sporks. Immediate thought, his voice sounds a little awkward, and maybe it's on purpose to sound a little more alien-like. We don't know. He asks Void Knight where he got the armor. There's no answer. It's obvious that there's going to be some sort of connection between Void Knight and the Rangers at this point. Eventually, Zeto makes a mistake. He transforms his Chromo Saber into a dagger, which was not in the Sentai. Tosses it, accidentally hits the chest where the sporks are, and he unleashes them. Boo-boo. Looks like this is obviously going to be a huge part of the rest of the season. When the sporks are free, Void Knight quickly runs out, hoping to gather them all again, which is seemingly impossible judging by how fast they're going. But one is left behind, and it transforms into Sparkhorn or something like that. It was unveiled on one of the toys. For some reason, he has a southern accent.
You're going to help me get those sporks back. Yes, boss.
Which I find pretty funny and intriguing. He joins Void Knight on this quest. In the chamber, the Rangers demorph, and we meet Zeto, this season's Red Ranger, and he looks a little bit different because he is an alien. He has antennas on his head, which I'm very happy it seems that he will lose. I found them a bit distracting. They're not awful looking. I understand that they have to visually show that he is an alien of some type, but I'm just tired of the antennas. Also, before I forget to mention, the morphers do sort of compact themselves into this watch-looking device, kind of similar to the Ninja Steel communicator. He introduces Solon to the Rangers, who is, again, that dinosaur robot hybrid. Then we have Zeto. Instead of having a traditional interaction, he has the power of telepathy, recognizes their personality, and basically reads out their synopsis from the sides from the show. Originally, when Zeto demorphed, I was questioning the acting when he was telepathically reading Amelia and Ollie, but then I completely turned on that opinion because I felt like the actor did a great job portraying this alien being. It made sense that he wasn't directly making eye contact with them. It made sense that there's no enunciations in certain words. Solon then tells Zeto Zeto that he's been asleep for 65 million years.
You're in great shape for 65 million.
You know, I think we both are.
I love her already. I see a lot of people are immediately calling her a cinnamon bun and protecting her on Twitter. Sometimes that could be obnoxious, but I agree with it, judging just by these sassy little quirks that they're putting in. It's amazing. We get a little bit of the backstory from Zeto from 65 million years ago. He is the leader of these night warriors from another planet, Rafcon. The planet is attacked by sporks. A lot of spoilers in this, shockingly. A lot of them are monsters that will be shown later on in the season. And eventually, when the sporks basically decimate his planet, the knights end up going to Earth where the sporks land, where they fight to get revenge, and they're helped with the inhabitants of the planet, dinosaurs. A lot of this footage is great. The CGI dinosaurs don't look terrible. We have this awesome shot of Zeto riding a T-Rex. Of course, it was put in the beginning credits. This aspect seems to be taken from the Sentai, the sporks getting enough strength to become giants, which is explained in this backstory. The knights were retreating with the dinosaurs, don't know how they communicate with each other. Again, telepathy could be attached to that, reading minds. And then they are approached by these mysterious cloaked figures that people recognize before I did. I just finished the Shattered Grid series and I just started Beyond the Grid, so I didn't get to this point yet. But we're introduced to the Morphin Masters, which was just a little throwaway line all the way back in season 1 of Mighty Morphin, and they decide to unearth this. Mad props to them. It's then revealed that these Morphin Masters tapped into the Morphin Grid to give these 5 knights the spirit of the dinosaurs that were helping them. Poor dinosaurs got turned into what is now Dinohenge. I don't think it's a boring exposition at all. I feel like children will enjoy it because we get footage. It's just not him talking and us looking at him talk.
You are the Dino Fury Power Rangers. Together, you must defend the Earth against these evil sparks.
But how? The Sporix beasts are gigantic.
Then we will make you mighty weapons.
Whoa, spoilers. We get stuff that in a previous Power Rangers season would have been like a no-no. Like, we saw the Gold Ranger in the background. He was partially obscured, but you could tell it's the Gold Ranger. And the Green Ranger had a skirt on, which, you know, you'd think would make sense because the Green Ranger is female this season. But it seems like in modern day, they're not putting the skirt on her. Maybe that will be touched upon, maybe in a humorous way. Like, it's, oh, you know, it's the 21st century. I shouldn't be required to wear like a skirt. Also kind of shocking is that they showed Sentai footage with the Red Ranger's power-up, as well as a bunch of words that are going to be unveiled later on. Felt like the Morphin Masters looked a little weird, but then when I read one of the interviews with the executive producer, he explained that these are supposed to be otherworldly heroes, so that's why they're moving a bit awkwardly. What I found super interesting about the Morphin Masters as well is that apparently they co-designed it with Toei. Toei made these 2 Morphin Master designs, one for the female Rangers, one for the male Rangers, and they just fixed it and multiplied them with CGI. Mr. Bennett claimed that Chiplin thought of the idea to look back and look at the Morphin Masters. Props to him. Zeto then explains that his friends are gone and they ended up capturing the sporks. Zeto very much treats this situation, I guess, as a failure. It seems like he has a lot of guilt about what ended up happening. He lost his friends. Presumably they died in battle, maybe not. And he's really down on himself right now because of the sporks being unleashed again. Then Solon and Zeto explain to Amelia and Ollie how the sporks are all going to go into hiding and come out one by one. They're making it like these sporks have a mind of their own. They're very much alive even in their little gooey form. And Zeto basically says, you guys ready to kick some ass? And they agree, and that's the end of episode 1. I'm sorry if this was a little more sporadic than my other reviews, like with Dimensions in Danger, but that I had a lot more time to edit. This one I purposely don't have too much of a script, just a guideline, and I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on this episode. This is by far one of the best episodes of the series in over a decade since RPM, hands down, and I'm not just saying this because all the reviews seemingly are positive on Twitter and online. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. They gave us a whole bunch of stuff we wanted, and I really, really, really appreciate Hasbro allowing the writers to really explore more plot, more character development, because Power Rangers for me, the past couple years, maybe not so much with Dino Charge, but with the previous seasons have really been a chore for me to watch. I know that sounds stupid, like why would you force yourself to watch something that you don't want to watch? It's just, you know, Power Rangers has played a large part in my life. I love the show. I love the concept. I love how unique the show is. And it's just very hard for me to let go. And this gave me a reason to stay. Not that I was considering leaving, but it was very obvious that they were going with that guideline that in the interview Mr. Bennett explained sort of started with Saban when he purchased the Rangers back, and they forced them to follow this guideline, and I guess Hasbro followed the guideline to an extent during Beast Morphin Morphers. So I'm happy that they're more set free. During these interviews, Simons keeps saying, we do have more things for the older fans. We do have more things that they could look forward to. I do feel like it's possible to appeal to both children, the key demo, as well as give some bones to the older fans. I know this is just the first episode, but I'm getting really, to quote Amelia, not bad vibes, but good vibes. Everything explained. They used up all the time perfectly. I was entertained every scene. The actors do well. The script is great. The best it's been in a long time. The visual effects are decent. I'm very intrigued and want to see what's gonna happen. In this streaming day and age, I'm not used to waiting, and this is the first time where I could say that I'm very excited for the next episode. I'm not going to even hesitate. This episode is a 5 out of 5. It's easily a 5 out of 5. Again, totally engaged with the plot. There was comedy, but it wasn't obnoxious. You didn't have a full 5-minute gag scene wasting precious time. I'm intrigued by these characters and Rangers that they introduced. I feel like I'm just going to keep yammering about this, but this is what I've wanted from Power Rangers for a really long time. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I feel like it was a real treat for us fans. Once again, I'm Daniel, aka Black and Blue 572. Be sure to look me up on all my socials and follow me. Really appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you want to watch more Power Rangers reviews. I'm hoping to maybe do another one of the second episode at the very least and then give up. You never know, so click the subscribe button and the notification bell and you'll be notified when I post the next Power Ranger video. Be sure to comment your thoughts of Destination Dinohenge. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.